Well, the taste is amazing. Guten Yardening, everybody. We have a lot of variety here of microgreens, and you can see some of them don't look so micro right now. But you know, a large part about gardening is making decisions. Decisions on what to buy, what to plant, where to plant it, when to plant it. And there's just so many choices that we have to make as we're gardening, especially as we're growing indoors where there's even less space than we have outside. And so I think a question that deserves to be answered is, if we had to pick one microgreen to grow, what would it be? Now when it comes down to picking the microgreen that's our favorite out of the 7 or 8 that we're already growing, it comes down to more than just nutritional density. Of course, you want that nutritional density because we're growing indoors, which means we have less space than we do outside, which means we need to make the most of our space and get the biggest bang for our buck, I guess you could say. But nutritional density is only part of what we're looking at. We're also looking at taste. We've said it many times before, you don't grow what you don't want to eat, so we're looking for a great taste, and on top of that, we're looking for something that can replenish itself quickly. Now, microgreens by nature can do that, but I can tell you that we've been eating off of these speckled peas for several weeks now. And as we cut them, they are coming right back. And we didn't necessarily expect to get a lot of cuttings out of some of the microgreens we're growing. We knew it was just a one-time deal, cut and done, like our amaranth, for example. So here's our amaranth that we've harvested off of, and you can see it's dying back. But if we turn it over and you look at the roots down in here, what do you see? You see that the roots aren't all that sizable. And compare that to the size of these roots coming out of the peas. And I'm not going to take it out because they're really growing all around. I would really disrupt the growth if I did that. But what a difference. And on this tray in particular, you can see where we've cut and harvested the peas, and they're already starting to return to that shoot form. What's really nice about these peas is you can eat them as sprouts. You can go farther than that, which is what we've done here, and let them turn into shoots, and you can harvest off as much as you want. Now, just like any other microgreen, you might find that the nutritional density does wane a bit over time, but because of the way these are planted, we're actually able to get more out of them than we can from many of our other microgreens. So today's video is focused solely on the speckled pea, what it takes to plant them, how we let them develop, and a little description of the taste. If you enjoyed this video while you're watching, please leave us a like and let us know. Let's get started and look at how we plant these speckled peas. Now, of course, it's important to get some high quality peas or high quality seeds just in general when you're purchasing them. And these are organic speckled peas from True Leaf Market. And we've had really good success with the germination rate from True Leaf so far. Speckled peas, you can see what they look like when you get them out of the bag. Speckled peas, they're one of those microgreens that has to be pre-soaked before you're able to plant them. If you put them in like this, they're really not going to develop well. So this falls in line with wheatgrass, in the same vein of needing to be pre-soaked. And the pre-soak period for these is about 4 to 6 hours, and you can see what a difference it makes when you've soaked these peas. This one has actually already started to sprout just a little bit. And I'll show you the entire amount that we're going to plant today. And what I did was I pre-soaked these. These have been pre-soaked for at least 6 hours. And then I let them dry out. Now they do absorb a ton of water, so you want to make sure you give them plenty of water as you're soaking them. And you can see what we've already got here. That's pretty cool. You can tell how quickly this is going to take off when we get this into the soil. Now I'm using one of our smaller containers for this planting. We're not planting all that much right now because again we have plenty already growing. The mix that we're using here is the same mix we use for our wheatgrass. It's the Coco Cure, that nice fibrous organic material that allows for great drainage. And you can see some of the perlite and some of the vermiculite in here as well. And just like what we've added for our wheatgrass, we have some azomite, some of those trace minerals, micro powdered azomite in here as well. And we're going to add about 1 inch of this and we're going to compress it just a little bit, again to provide that nice flat growing surface. We're going to gently place our peas on here, and they do need to be a thick layer. We're going to move them around, spread them out evenly as we can, just like this, and just like we did with our wheatgrass, and just like you should do in general when you're planting the microgreens. You're just trying to get these compressed so that they're touching the soil. Now there is one difference to this than you'll see when we plant our wheatgrass and some of our other microgreens as well, and that is that we're going to sprinkle a little bit of this soil over top. Now you can grow these peas in a hydroponic setup, but it is a little bit more challenging to do. These peas have a preference. They prefer to be grown in soil. So I'm not pushing down very much at all, just sprinkled lightly, a light little layer of soil right over top. Now the last thing we need to do is either place a paper towel or something like this piece of cardboard, whatever you have in hand, over top, because these peas need 2 to 3 days of blackout time or dark hours where they're not exposed to any light. And once that time is passed, what we should see is about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of growth coming out underneath here. We'll come back and we'll add moisture to this as we go through. And it is important that you add moisture to your soil as you're planting. You don't want to come back in here with dry soil and then try to add a whole bunch of water at the end. You want this soil to be nice and damp, which it is. And if we then need to come back and spray it, that's going to be just fine. We'll do that. We'll add a little bit of spray to the top to keep it damp, but this will help as well. It's a pretty simple planting. So the estimated time to harvest for these peas really depends on how you want to eat them. If you like them at this 3 to 4 inch height, you're probably looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 days. And if you want this massive height that we have here and allow them to go to shoots, you're probably looking at about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. Look at this jungle that we have right here. Now, one of the things I talked about at the beginning in terms of why we would choose to grow these peas is just the amount of growth that we get out of them, the amount of harvest potential. Like I said, most of the other microgreens we grow don't have these massive roots, so they're not going to give us more than, say, 1 cutting. But here you can see this is our 3rd cutting off of these. And again, we have 3 different containers that are this size. So these are our 5x5 containers. We have 3 of these containers, and we've been able to eat off of these for the last 2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks off of just a few seeds here. And the seeds really aren't that expensive. A couple dollars for a pound, and you can see something that'll probably last you. And in terms of nutritional value, you've got basically the first quarter of the alphabet's worth of vitamins in here, along with your protein and your omega-3s and fiber. There's just so much to be had from these peas. But I said earlier that one of the most important parts of choosing which vegetables to grow and which microgreens to grow is making sure that you're growing what you love, what you actually want to and will eat. Well, the taste is amazing. If you like sugar snap peas, if you like eating those raw peas, you have that times 10. That flavor is so pronounced and delicious. In fact, now I've always said that tomatoes are garden candy. In fact, I will take these, I'll do a cutting of them, and I'll bring them up, especially to my older daughter, and she will eat them. Just give her a handful after we've washed them off, and she will eat them like candy. They are that delicious. Now, when you go to harvest these, you simply pick the level to which you want to cut them down, and this is what you have. Now again, you do not ever have to let them get this long or get this big. You don't. In fact, when I go ahead and eat these, I will cut them in half again a couple times, so what we're eating will be a smaller length, but it doesn't really matter. If you want them to go to shoots like this, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And again, we cut these down, we actually cut these down to about a 1/2 inch, and you can see 2 days later, we're already getting that new growth. Realistically, it's up to you. You can eat them just as sprouts, or again, you can start to harvest them once the first couple true leaves begin to form. Or if you have enough planted, you can enjoy these amazing shoots. And believe me, they're amazing. Now, just like all microgreens, it's far better to eat these right after they're harvested than to wait an extended period of time. But you can harvest the entire amount and keep them in the fridge for a few days. But I don't recommend that. I recommend enjoying the amazing flavor of these peas right after you harvest them. This is a fantastic microgreen, a great starter microgreen, and a great microgreen in general, and our choice as the one we would grow if we had to choose just one. If we had to pick just one, this would likely be it. We hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. Let us know if you're trying out microgreens. What are you growing? What's your #1 microgreen? Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.